Hi all, today we are starting a new topic, laser. Laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. It is a high technology device that invented in the 20th century. Laser is having high applications in various fields such as communication, in sensors, medical fields, etc. Most of you are aware about the laser eye treatment that is most common nowadays in ophthalmology. Why this laser light is having this much importance in comparison with the ordinary light? That is because of its peculiar characteristics. Now we can see what are the peculiar characteristics for this laser light in comparison with the ordinary light. The main characteristics of laser light are its high coherence, high directionality, monochromaticity and high intensity. So we can see it one by one. Laser light is highly monochromatic. That means it's consisting of only one wavelength. Whereas ordinary light may not be monochromatic. That is polychromatic. That consisting of various wavelengths. Other one is laser light is highly coherent. That means all the photons are moving in the same phase. In ordinary light, the light waves are moving in different directions with different phase. Therefore, ordinary light is not coherent, whereas the laser light shows a high level of coherence. Next is laser light is highly directional. That means the laser light travels only in one direction, whereas this ordinary light is traveling in various directions. Next is because of this highly directional nature of laser light, the divergence of laser light is negligible. That means if you are pointing a laser source to a wall, we can see a spot like this. It is not having divergence. Divergence is negligible. Whereas in the case of ordinary light, the light waves are traveling in various directions, and if you are taking the light, it is having high level of divergence. It is diverging to different directions. The next property is the laser light intensity is very high because all the photons are moving in only one direction. They interfere at one point and the intensity of the laser light is very high. And as the distance increases, its intensity is not decreasing, it is constant with the distance. Whereas the light from the ordinary source of light, the intensity is decreasing with the distance. The intensity is low and decreases rapidly with the distance. In laser light, a stimulated emission is responsible for it, and in ordinary light, a spontaneous emission is responsible for it. Now we are going to see what is the stimulated emission and spontaneous emission. So laser is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So the principle behind the laser is stimulated emission. The theory of stimulated emission of radiation was first explained by Einstein in 1970. After that, based on the stimulated emission of radiation, Charles Townes in 1954 developed a device. That device is known as MASER. MASER means microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. At about the same time, another two scientists, Prokhorov and Bazov, they also developed similar type of devices. After that, in 1958, Townes extended this microwave amplification to the optical frequencies, and they lead to the development of optical maser, or nowadays we are calling it as laser. That is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. In 1960, Meyman developed the first laser, that is a ruby laser, and in 1961, the helium neon laser, which was the first gas laser, also developed. So what is the principle behind this laser device? That is stimulated emission of radiation. The laser can be explained by the quantum mechanical theory of interaction of light with a medium. Let us consider a medium of identical atoms with many energy levels. For simplicity, here we are considering only two energy levels, E1 and E2. E1 is the ground level and E2 is the excited level. Let N1 be the population of the lower level and N2 be the population of the upper level. Usually the atoms have a tendency to sit in the ground level because of its high stability. Let us consider an atom A in the ground level. Let light radiations be incident on this material. So the light radiations means we can consider it as a stream of photons. Let rho V be the photon density. Each photon is having an energy h nu and it is equal to the energy difference between the two levels, that is E2 minus E1. When light travels through this medium, three processes can take place there. One is absorption, second is spontaneous emission and third is stimulated emission. The first one is absorption. Here, when the photon of energy h nu, that is equal to E2 minus E1 is incident, this photon imparts its energy to the atom A, and thereby this atom in the ground level will be excited to the higher energy level. That is, this atom from the ground level will move to the excited level by getting the energy from the photon and it becomes A star. That is, A is absorbing the energy from the photon and it gets excited to the higher energy level and it becomes A star, and thereby this photon disappears. This phenomenon is known as absorption. It is induced by an external photon with the energy h nu. Therefore, this is also known as induced absorption or stimulated absorption, because it is induced or stimulated by the photons from the outside. So the probability of this transition we can write as P12, that is transition from the first to second level. That will depends upon the photon density. So we can say that this probability P12 is directly proportional to the photon density rho V. Therefore, this P12 is equal to a constant into rho V. That constant we can write as B12, where B12 is known as Einstein's coefficient of induced absorption. Then what will be the number of absorption takes place here during a time delta t? That will depends upon the probability of transition and also it depends upon the number of atoms in the ground level. So we can write it as N1, that is number of atoms in the ground level, into this probability, that is P12. We are considering for a time interval delta t. So the number of absorption during delta t time interval is N1 P12 delta t, or N1 P12 is B12 into rho V into delta t. Here this B12 is the Einstein coefficient of induced absorption and rho V is the photon density. So in induced absorption, the atom in the ground level is excited to the higher energy level by absorbing the energy from the external photon incident. Now we can move to the second one, spontaneous emission. Now the atom is in the excited level. An excited state is normally unstable. The lifetime of an atom in the excited state is very short, of the order of 10 raised to minus 8 seconds, or it is of the order of nanoseconds. Because of this very short lifetime of an atom in the excited state, this atom will not retain in this excited level for a long time. It will return back to the ground level and become A. That is, A star is becoming A. So when this atom return back to the ground level, it will release an energy h nu. So A star gives A plus h nu. This emission is known as spontaneous emission. Why it is called spontaneous emission? Because the atom in the excited level return back to the ground level spontaneously. It is not induced by any photon from outside. It is not stimulated by any external force. The transition from this excited atom to the ground level is occurring by its own. It is a spontaneous process. Therefore, this emission is known as spontaneous emission. That is, when one atom returns back to the ground level, it releases one photon. When two excited atoms return back to the ground level, two photons will produce there. But these two photons produced will move in random direction. When one atom return back to the ground level, one photon will release. When second atom return back to the ground level, second photon will move, but that move in random direction. Therefore, these emitted photons are not in phase. That means the photons produced in spontaneous emission is not coherent. The photons emitted are moving in random direction. It is a random process. The number of photons produced in spontaneous emission will depend upon the number of atoms that return back to the ground level. If n atoms return back to the ground level, n photons will produce it. But these n photons move in random direction. Therefore, this light is not coherent. The probability of this spontaneous transition P21, it is spontaneous emission, so we can write here as spontaneous. Is it proportional to rho v? No, because rho v is the photon density, and here the transition takes place without the help of any external photons. So here this probability is not depending upon any photon density. It is equal to a constant. That constant we can write as A21, where A21 is known as Einstein's coefficient of spontaneous emission. The number of spontaneous transition during delta T time interval, that will depends upon the number of atoms in the higher energy level. Number of atoms in the higher energy level is N2. That we have to multiply with this probability of spontaneous transition P21 spontaneous during the time delta T time interval. So here we have to multiply it with the delta T. So that is equal to N2. P21 spontaneous is same as the Einstein's coefficient A21 into delta T. So the spontaneous emission is not induced or stimulated by any external radiations. Here the light generated is incoherent. That is because the photons emitted are moving in different direction and the phase of photons are different. The third process is stimulated emission. Stimulated emission occurs in the presence of an external radiation. Here an atom in the excited level, that is A star, is interacting with an external photon having an energy h nu is equal to E2 minus E1. Then the excited atom will make a downward transition well before this spontaneous emission takes place. That is, here the excited atom will come to the ground level before the spontaneous emission takes place. So this process is induced or stimulated by an external photon. That is, here the excited atom A star is absorbing the energy h nu and it return back to the ground level. Then in the output, what we will get, when this A star is returned to the ground level, a photon will release along with this incident photon. So in the output we will get a 2h nu. So 2 photons will produce in the output, and these 2 photons will move in the same direction as that of the incident photon, and they will move with the same phase. That means the light produced here is coherent. That is, in stimulated emission, what we are getting as the output, that is laser. Why this emission is called stimulated emission? Because it is a forced emission. Here the atom is returned back to the ground level, is induced by some external agency. Here the external radiation is forcing the excited atom to come to the ground level well before the spontaneous emission takes place, and thereby in the output we are getting photons, and also we are getting multiplication of photons. That is, when one atom return back to the ground level, we are getting 2 photons. So when 2 atoms return back to the ground level, we will get 4 photons. That is, a multiplication of photons takes place here, and all these photons will move in the same direction with the same phase. That is, the produced light is coherent, that is laser. Therefore, in the principle of laser is stimulated emission of radiation. Here the probability of stimulated emission, P21 stimulated. Here this stimulated emission takes place with the help of an external photon. So this probability will depend upon the photon density rho v. So this P21 stimulated is equal to a constant into rho v. That constant we can write as B21, where B21 is known as Einstein's coefficient of stimulated emission. Then what will be the number of stimulated transition during a time interval delta t? So that will depend upon the number of atoms in the excited level, that is N2, into this probability, that is P21 stimulated, into this time interval delta t, that is equal to N2. The probability of stimulated emission P21 is B21 into rho v into delta t. So in stimulated emission, this is the number of transition during a time delta t. These are the process: absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. Absorption is required for the atom in the ground level to reach into the excited level, and in the excited level it can come to the ground level by 2 ways of emission. One is spontaneous emission and another one is stimulated emission. Spontaneous emission takes place by its own, then the light is producing there, but that is not coherent. In conventional light sources, the principle is spontaneous emission, whereas in stimulated emission it is induced by an external photon, and here we are getting output light, but that is coherent. Their multiplication of photons takes place, and the principle behind this laser is the stimulated emission. Here we have defined 3 Einstein's coefficient. First one, Einstein's coefficient of induced absorption, B12. Second is Einstein's coefficient of spontaneous emission, A21. And third one is Einstein's coefficient of stimulated emission, B21. The letter A used for the spontaneous process, whereas the letter B used for the stimulated process. So stimulated emission of radiation is the basic principle of laser light. The outstanding feature of this stimulated emission is the multiplication of photons. That is, when one atom is triggered by an external photon, it will produce 2 coherent photons. That is, when one atom return back to ground level, we are getting 2 photons as the output. Again, these 2 photons can again trigger another 2 atoms. When this photon trigger one atom, it will produce 2 more photons. And this photon triggering another atom, it will also produce 2 photons. That is, when 2 atoms come to the ground level, how many photons we will get? 4 photons. That is 2 raised to 2 photons. In the next stage, again the multiplication of photons takes place, and we will get 8 photons. So when it is triggering by a photon from the outside, this produces multiplication of photons, and at every stage this multiplication of photons is increasing. And finally at the nth stage, that is when n atoms return back to the ground level, we will get 2 raised to n photons, and these photons are moving in the same direction, say the same frequency, with the same phase and with the same plane of polarization. Therefore, Therefore, these photons will interfere each other and we will get a highly intense coherence light, that is laser light. So the total intensity of this laser light produced will be equal to n square I, where n is the number of atoms radiating light. That is, here multiplication of photons takes place in avalanche-like manner. That is, shower-like photons are coming here, and thereby we are getting a highly intense coherent laser light. Now we can see the comparison between spontaneous and stimulated emission. The spontaneous emission is a random and uncontrolled process. That we have seen in spontaneous emission, that the atom is spontaneously returned back to the ground level. That is not controlled by any external agency. So it is an uncontrolled and random process. Whereas in stimulated emission, it is a controlled process. It is not a random process. That is controlled by some external agency there. In spontaneous emission, the photons emitted are in random direction. They are not in phase with each other, and also they are with the different frequencies. Whereas in stimulated emission, we have seen that all the photons are emitted in the same direction. They are with the same phase and they all have the same frequency. That means in spontaneous emission, the light produced is incoherent and it is not monochromatic and non-directional, whereas the light produced in stimulated emission is coherent, it is monochromatic and it is highly directional. In spontaneous emission, the multiplication of photons does not take place. When one atom comes to the ground level, only one photon is released. So multiplication of photons does not take place there. Hence, there is no amplification of light due to spontaneous emission. Whereas in stimulated emission, multiplication of photons takes place there. When n atom come to the ground level, we are getting 2 raised to n photons. Due to this multiplication of photons, light amplification occurs in stimulated emission. In spontaneous emission, the resultant intensity of the generated light is IT, that is total intensity, is equal to Ni, where I is the intensity of each photon and N is the number of atoms emitting photon. Whereas in stimulated emission, all the photons are in same phase. They will interfere constructively and we will get a high intensity, that total intensity is n square I. I is the intensity of each photon and n is the number of atoms coming to the ground level. Now, the light produced in spontaneous emission is unpolarized. That means the plane of polarization of the photons are oriented randomly. Whereas in stimulated emission, the produced light is polarized. The plane of polarization are identical for all photons. So these are the differences between spontaneous and stimulated emission. So in this video, we have seen an introduction about laser and also 3 types of process: absorption, spontaneous emission and stimulated emission.